Today, the eldest member dished out the agenda. Colette equally caught up with some members of parliament who expressed their goals and focus to be arrived at when this session must have come to an end for solutions to boiling issues plaguing Cameroon, especially in the restive English-speaking regions of the country. High report.
Light of the ordinary session at the National Assembly, Honorable Nkwa Fege Laurentine, after paying tribute to fallen Cameroonians who have become victims of the ongoing Anglophone crisis, she spoke about COVID-19 and encouraged Cameroonians to abide to the measures. She equally congratulated President Paul Biya and the organizer of AFCOM for a job well done. She made mention of the agenda of this session, and one of which is elections of definite bureau members of the National Assembly. She equally called for a ceasefire in the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia and asked both nations to come to a compromise. The persistent killings in the restive English-speaking regions of the country is a cause for concern, as some members of parliament focus on it to be handled in this session vis-a-vis other issues plaguing the country.
During the launching of the March session this morning by the eldest member of parliament who chaired today's session, the expectations are high. First, we gave minutes of silence to those who passed away during the stampede of the AFCOM, as well as showed sympathy to the administrators who died in the Indian division. It's rather unfortunate of all what is happening. During this sitting, we are looking up to having lasting solution for peace in our regions that have been suffering for all this while. We cannot continue to fold our hands and look at our people die and look at our people suffering. So the expectations are high. Expectations are high that the people that we are representing as elected officials, we have them in mind first to see how to ameliorate their living condition, to see how to promulgate laws that will better the economy of our divisions, our regions, as well as to promote development in all the phases.
If solutions will be arrived at after this ordinary session is the load the MPs carry from their different constituencies. At the end of this session, Cameroonians are therefore optimistic they will put a final nail to the ugly head roaming the country.
As the ordinary session of the Parliament opened today, March 11, 2022, it is imperative to be of the know with the entire rundown and agenda of this March session, and equally what the National Assembly entails, as well as what is required to be attained in 2022 by this lower house of Parliament. Colette once again from Yaoundé.
National Assembly with a House Speaker, it's a Senior Deputy Speaker, 5 Deputy Speakers, 4 Quaestors and 12 Secretaries. Meanwhile, both houses have members of Bureau elected for 1 year who are eligible for re-election should be drawn from all the political parties represented in both houses. Meaning that the Bureaus elected will, as of Section 17 sub 7 of the Standing Order of the National Assembly, states that they should be a reflection of the political configuration of the House, where 8 parties have seats, where 7 political parties are represented, unless some political parties decline to be part of the bureaus. And once elected, members of the bureaus become fully empowered to preside over the proceedings of the session, which without doubt will generally be responsible for the scrutiny of bills, control of government actions, clarifications on certain issues, and be representatives of the people and of local councils who are from every indication concerned about reforms in education, energy supply, the fate of some parapublic enterprises, especially textile and agro-livestock products, as well as roads, health, and infrastructural and socio-political atmosphere. While the government on its part will be looking forward to the adoption of bills to push forward the implementation of Cameroon's economy, financial, social, and cultural program this year. While members of parliament are expected to go beyond political leanings, considered only the common good as they work in synergy with cabinet members to advance the head of state agenda for a prosperous, united, and emergent Cameroon by 2035.
Away from the National Assembly, a giant sinkhole at the Terminus neighborhood in Douala, chieftown of the Littoral region, got commuters frustrated as they were caught up in traffic. Bad roads in the city are a great hindrance to movements, and many city dwellers hope that the roads be reconstructed as soon as possible. Akeba completes that story.
Circulation around the Terminus neighborhood in the economic capital Douala has been rendered difficult and quite frustrating. This is simply as a result of a very massive sinkhole which opened up yesterday, March 10, on the road at Terminus, close to the Collège Saint-Michel. Road users rushing to work and other functions of the day got frustrated as they were held up in traffic for over 2 hours and even more. The fortunate thing is, no car sunk into the giant hole and nobody was hurt. Due to the serious inconveniences it caused to commuters, the law enforcement officers had no choice but to place road barricades around the area ahead of repair works. It is hoped that work will commence as soon as possible in order to facilitate movement from this part of town to the other. It is worth noting that this is a newly constructed road which has suddenly deteriorated in no time. Sadly, most roads in the city are characterized by potholes, while others are simply too small to accommodate the increasing number of taxis, heavy-duty trucks, as well as military vehicles. Many city dwellers have attributed the potholes to the use of diminishing or insufficient materials used to build the roads. This situation is further aggravated given that the culture of maintenance is still a far cry in Cameroon.
Now, on a sad note, after the death of the Fon of Esu by unknown Fulani gunmen in the villages of Esu have burned down the mosque in the locality in a way to revenge the death of their Fon and wife. It is on this note that the SZO of Menchum, Abdullahi Aliyu, in a communique condemned the barbaric act perpetrated on the royal family and has opened investigations to know the killers of the Fon of Esu and his wife. More in this report with Catherine Kongwe.
Calm is yet to return to Esu village after the assassination of its Fon, Kum Michael, and wife by alleged Fulani gunmen on their way back from the coronation of the Fon of Wei. This act forced angry population of Esu to burn down the mosque in revenge for the death of their traditional ruler and his wife. Reacting to this, the senior divisional officer of Menchum Division, Abdullahi Aliyu, in a communique said that investigations have been opened to arrest killers of His Royal Majesty, the Fon of Esu, and his wife. The senior divisional officer of Menchum went further to condemn such barbaric acts perpetrated on the Esu royal family and on behalf of the government extends his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family. He equally calls on the angry population of Esu village to remain calm and continue to collaborate with authorities. Several attacks have been recorded in this part of the country as the Anglophone crisis still plagues this region for over 5 years now.
The Minister of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries in Cameroon has received 100 breeding pigs, including 17 males from a European supplier within the framework of the Livestock Development Project PRODEL, financed by the World Bank, aimed at reboosting piggery farming, which was affected last year with the African swine fever. Dolin Gonde with the development on this story in the following report.
June 2021, the sale of pigs and byproducts were prohibited temporarily following the outbreak of the African swine fever in the west region of Cameroon, which began affecting neighboring regions subsequently. The effect, life became a nightmare for inhabitants of the west region, depending on pig farming for a livelihood, as all pig markets were closed for this infection.
One of these days I had pigs, but they're not there again.
We had the calamity of swine fever, which wiped out all my flocks. I had over 500 animals. I've not recovered ever since, and the loan facility must be repaid back. So I'm kind of helpless as to know what to do.
Almost 1 year later, the Cameroonian Ministry of Livestock receives 100 breeding pigs, including 17 males, from a European supplier within the framework of the Livestock Development Project, PRODEL, financed by the World Bank, aimed at producing parents, multiplying them in order to make them available to fattening farms. With this, it is hoped that the breeding pigs will have to deliver the first piglets from October 2022, and according to forecasts from the Ministry of Livestock, it will be possible to gradually reconstitute the national herd. It should be noted that during the crisis, the breeding station of Kuden in the West region, which is one of the largest production basins in the country, also urged the government for an issuance which led to the slaughtering of some 90,000 pigs in the space of 3 months. And according to the interprofession of pig breeders in the West region, the quantity of slaughtered animals represents 22.5% of 400,000 heads recorded in this part of the country.
You're welcome back. Now, preparations have intensified in the camp of PWD Bamenda ahead of the Cup of Cameroon final game against Astre of Douala due for this Sunday in Yaoundé. Joy Ngang walks us through the realities of their training sessions in the following report.
After waiting for several months for the announcement of the official date of the Cup of Cameroon's finals, PWD Social Football Club of Bamenda has intensified training sessions ahead of Sunday's game. According to the head coach David Pagu, the Abakwa boys are more ready than they could ever be to face Astre of Douala on March 13.
We are ready to play since because you know the date is already 3 days ago, so we are ready to play that final. We are waiting, and then the date is now known. So the state of mind is good, it's on a good level. With that date, again, the motivation is higher. So our players are motivated to play the final.
PWD has previously played and lost 2 finals of the Cup of Cameroon competition. In 1967, they lost to Canon of Yaoundé and later in 1979 to Dynamo of Douala. Appearing for their 3rd Cup final, the team is more determined to write its name on the history books of Cameroonian football.
You know, when I come here in the first year, I tell to the supporters that I came here to give them joy. So I hope that the objective is still gone. So God helped me so much. God is my force. It's my force. So I hope that you're gonna help me that day. So if we won that final, it's gonna be a great moment for our supporters.
Despite the many challenges faced by the players, including the poor state of their training ground, the Abakwa boys believe they possess the necessary skills to conquer Astre of Douala come Sunday, March 13, 2022.
The closing ceremony of the FINASCO A Games launched on January 15, 2022 in the Ngaoundéré 1 subdivision of Adamawa region took place Wednesday, March 9, 2022, with trophies and certificates awarded meritorious teams and athletes. Get details in the report that follows. The finals of sporting activities marking the 2022 FINASCO A Games in Ngaoundéré 1 subdivision of the Adamawa region reached fever pitch with the female handball finals between Lycée Classique et Moderne Ngaoundéré and Lycée Bileng de Bamianga on Wednesday. The event was presided over by the divisional officer from Ngaoundéré 1 subdivision, Menobo Samuel, in the presence of the president of the FINASCO Games in Ngaoundéré 1 subdivision, Yusufa, and some security officials. According to the divisional delegate of sports and physical education from Ngaoundéré 1, Kuma Helen, the various athletes in the course of the 2-month games displayed great attitudes and virtues for a bright future.
Nous venons d'achever avec la clôture de
We just wrapped up with the closing ceremony of the FINASCO A Games with a handball final in the female category in an encounter between Lycée Classique and Lycée Bamianga. A very tough game, I would say. We are really proud of the performances of our athletes, and Lycée Bamianga, after winning, will have to represent our municipality. For the president of the competition, the FINASCO A Games in Gaundere 1, Yusufa, the participants from the different schools engaged in this competition for the past 2 months competed in 12 sporting disciplines, and among them emerged those who will represent the subdivision at the upcoming divisional FINASCO A Games. After a period of close to 2 weeks of hard labor and fair play, the athletes got the results they deserved, and we can now say that the subdivision will proudly be represented in all sporting domains, be it athletics or collective sport disciplines. However, the divisional officer from Gaundere 1, Menobo Samuel, reiterated that the concept of FINASCO Games is a necessity for the education of the youth, as it offers an opportunity for the promotion of solidarity and personal efforts.
Le sport en général et le sport scolaire en particulier a pour mérite d'être un vecteur de promotion des valeurs.
Sports in general and sports in school in particular is a huge forum for the promotion of values like fair play, tolerance, personal effort, and the acceptance of the differences of others without being judgmental. It also promotes other virtues like citizenship and solidarity.
Citoyenneté nationale, de la socialisation et de la solidarité.
The event was crowned by the handing over of certificates and trophies to meritorious athletes and teams who took part in the competition. It is on that note that we pull the curtains on today's edition of the 6:30 Prime News on My Media Prime Television. The news was produced by Wane Eli, compiled by Lasha Kingsley. I have been Eileen Sama, thanking you all for viewing, but do stay tuned to more amazing programs coming up tonight on My Media Prime Television. Be reminded that up next is Prime News with Kum Leonard. Happy weekend and stay blessed.